Hello everyone, welcome to the NightThemedRave. I am one of your hosts, Rave and the Wraith, and I'm joined by the usuals, Monkey.
Hello everyone, my name is Warden Monkey. I am, as per usual, very wholesome and glad to be back.
Very loud too, and Karma.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Heir of Karma. Pleasure to be here.
And today we're joined by special guest, Tubzilla.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am Tubzilla, variety streamer here on Twitch. What's up?
Yeah. I did shout him out in the, or not shout out, but I put him in the title if you want to go check out Tubbs' channel. Also, thank you, Segoy and Monkey, for the resubs. I would normally have background music, but I kind of forgot to set it up, and then when I went to go set it up just now, it looks like the web page is broken, so
Wow,
yay.
that nice jazz music that we chose together.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. Anyone let me know if the audio is fucked up, and I will try to adjust it as we go. So, Old School RuneScape is today's subject. It is a pretty old game. I want to say, like, early 2000s, right, Tubbs?
Yeah, it's been around for quite a long time in its
Dude.
original iteration. It kind of moved on to RuneScape 3, and as the game moved on to like the newer style, people kind of realized that the new style was ass. So they brought back the classic style, made Old School RuneScape. Not classic, but the second style.
Yeah. So just to clarify, we are talking about Old School RuneScape, not RuneScape 3 or whatever other versions there may be, because those are different things.
Correct.
So, Tubbs, we know that RuneScape is a RPG MMO in the same veins of World of Warcraft, sort of, in just the genre, really, nothing else really comparison between the two. It's, am I right to say isometric, you could say?
It's definitely like a top-down kind of clicker thing. It's not so much isometric, but you can kind of get like low angles, high angles, and it is all overhead though.
Yeah, and the game's graphics, obviously, it being old school RuneScape, not RuneScape 3, are a little dated, but there is, like, mods that you can install to make the game look a lot better. And honestly, it's not, like, ugly, it's just dated, is all.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah. So, Tubbs, I guess we should start off by saying, how did you discover RuneScape, and what got you, like, addicted to it?
I discovered RuneScape like when I was in high school. Actually, a buddy of mine I met through another friend, and we would go to the library actually, and just sit down and hang out and play games. We started playing RuneScape at the library using the library computers since uh, you know they didn't have computers, and you can't exactly have three different accounts going on one computer at the same time. So we just would all hang out together and play, and that's where it started. Um,
It all went downhill from there.
it has. It's been a very wild experience of ups and downs and addiction.
I still remember how I know about RuneScape because when I was a kid, all the YouTubers I used to watch all played RuneScape when they first started.
Interesting. For me, it was Minecraft. I never really got into RuneScape. I
No,
like.
see, I watched Minecraft videos, but like I watched a lot of the Skydo's Minecraft crew,
Mhm.
and they all met through RuneScape.
I didn't know that. But yeah, RuneScape is a game that definitely flew under my radar, as I really wasn't into RPGs, MMOs, and also didn't really have access to a computer at the time for most of my childhood. I think I got a computer in like 2012 or whatever and started playing like Team Fortress 2 and Minecraft, and that's like when I started playing those games. I know a lot of people chose World of Warcraft over RuneScape, though, because I believe they released around the same time. I'm not 100% positive about that, though.
Yeah, so RuneScape 2 and World of Warcraft are definitely very like nearby in release time. RuneScape Classic predates it by about 3 years. Um,
Was okay, quick question. Was RuneScape created by a small studio?
yeah, RuneScape was created by two brothers actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like a game two brothers made and they put up online. They're the Gower brothers, Andrew Gower and oh, I can't think of the other one. I can't think of the other brother, but maybe it was 3 brothers. It might have been Paul and Ian Gower as well, I believe. But yeah, they all got together and they made this game. They just hosted it online. It was really, really small at first, but it rapidly grew the player base. And eventually they left the project, and now it's just, kind of still going. It's, I think, almost as big as it's ever been.
Yeah, I actually was curious about one thing when I tried looking it up while you were playing on one of your streams. Is it a custom engine, do you know, or did they use a public engine like Unity or something?
I'm pretty sure it was all custom at the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it predates Unity by a large margin.
I know it predates Unity, but I wasn't sure like a better example than Unity.
You
Yeah,
could have
Yeah.
used Unreal.
Yeah, Unreal.
Could have more likely than anything it would have been,
Imagine RuneScape
something
on
through
Unreal Engine
Flash.
5.
Oh yeah, Flash. Yeah, so the most interesting thing about RuneScape to me would be the bosses and the skill system, which is interesting because I want to say people think the skill system is probably one of the worst, most tedious parts. Am I wrong to say that?
Arguably, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to skilling in this. Um, you will eventually things just slow down to a point where it takes a long time to get levels, but throughout the entire time of playing it, especially the early game, it's just constant dopamine fire. You'll get level ups really quickly, and everything feels really good when you start. As far as that goes,
Yeah, I think
it's
there's like
just
30 skills or something like that.
23, 24, I think.
Yeah. But it ranges from like wood cutting, fighting, magic, cooking, fishing, mining, all the typical things you'd find in a RPG MMO.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do all of them. Like, there's no like specialization like there is in a lot of MMOs. World of Warcraft again is a good example where you can only do a couple of the trade skills, for example, but in this you gain access to everything, and you can do it all. You can be that character that has maximum points in everything eventually.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's actually one interesting thing that I kind of dislike actually is that there's no like class and race system which is present in a lot of MMOs. You can't be like an orc fighter. You're just a human, and you can do anything, which is kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I can definitely see how it could be overwhelming for people. I'm sorry. Go
It's
ahead.
overwhelming, really?
Yeah, because like when you're playing the game, you can just level up like spear or fighting whatever. But at some point, if you want to complete like all the content, you're gonna have to level like magic and everything else. You can't just be like a class.
Well, it forces you to dabble in everything. That's kind of good.
It's good, it's just
Well,
overwhelming.
I don't know. I think I'd rather enjoy the more like role play aspect, like where you have to focus on one thing and then join other people to complete the game.
Yeah, and
So
it is worth mentioning this game does have like guilds and stuff.
yeah, there is a clan system in it. The game is very much so more of a social experience as far as an MMO goes, rather than like a traditional MMO. Most content in the game can be done solo. Like you don't need a group for anything. Honestly, you can do all the content in the game completely solo if you chose to.
It would just take a really long time.
It definitely does. I mean, there's a type of character that you can play called an Iron Man that has no ability to trade with any other player. You can't buy things from other players. Anything that you earn, you have to earn yourself. I play what's called a group Iron Man, which allows up to 5 players to be in a team to do that exact same kind of experience. So I can only trade with the people in my team, for example, rather than everybody else in the game. So anything that I want to get in the game, either myself or anybody else in my group would have to earn before any of us can even use it.
And I have seen that mechanic in other things, by the way. I think it's very a good idea, definitely, to have like a small group of people isolated, so you still have to work together with people. You can't solo everything, but it's easier than, having to trade and buy and do all the other social stuff. It is also worth mentioning that Old School RuneScape does have some PvP, though I want to say most people avoid PvP unless they are a specific type of person.
Why is that, actually?
The reason why a lot of people try to avoid the PvP content in this game is because death in this game is punishing.
Very.
Oh?
If you, say, go out into the wilderness, which is the PvP area of the game where players can attack you at any time, and you die to that player, they take everything you have on you except for your 3 most valuable items.
Oh!
Yeah.
So any
And-
item you're carrying with you goes to them. If you engaged in PvP yourself and your character is now skulled, and you die to another player, you lose everything you have on.
So you would only do PvP if you know that you're almost unkillable.
Pretty much. Or you're
Yes, no.
or you're tricking people. That's usually it.
There's a lot of scamming, yeah, skull tricking and stuff like that.
Well, isn't that like present in most MMOs? Like people funding a scam in some way, shape, or form?
I think with RuneScape, it's a bigger emphasis on it. I feel like every person I've talked to has at least experienced some kind of trick or scam or dupe or gank or something.
RuneScape is definitely notorious for teaching people not to trust people in games.
It's also one of, because it was around the same time as World of Warcraft, it also definitely had the buying girlfriend for gold and stuff like that.
Oh, it was the start of it.
Yeah.
It was long before World of Warcraft had, people dancing for gold. You had people selling, girlfriend.
Also, it's very important that we mention this because I actually don't know the history of this. Maybe Tubbs can let us know. The game is a subscription-based game where you have to pay monthly, or I think what is it, monthly, 3 months, 6 month, a year, or something like that.
I believe that's the options. Yes, it might only be monthly 6 1 year.
Okay.
I'm not sure offhand. You don't have to subscribe. It does have a free to play model. You can play without paying anything. But you get less content.
You get about
Like
10% of the
MMOs,
game.
then.
Yeah, it's like, World of Warcraft, you can only go to level 20, but I think it's level 20, but you don't experience anything. It's a hardware test more than it is. It's like a, dip your toes in.
I play Star Wars: The Old Republic, and you can play the entire game without being a subscriber. But being a subscriber allows you to run from the start. It allows you to level up faster and makes the game overall a bit easier. Is it more like that, or?
Sort of. So what it is that when you are free to play, you only gain access to a very small portion of the map. For example, oh gosh.
I'll try
let
to
me
pull
go
up the
ahead.
map.
Well, here's what I can do. I can just real quick go ahead and do something like this right here. This is about all of the map that you get versus the full size of the map as a free-to-play player. And even some of this you don't have access to, technically.
Yeah, and can you give a picture of the full map or no?
I can try. Let me see.
Yeah, it still does look like a ton of stuff, though.
Yeah.
And this is the current map of Gielinor.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'll pull up the map in a second. It got lost in my downloads folder. There we
Holy
go.
crap.
We're professionals, as always.
There you go. So this is the free-to-play area. I'll blow it up so you guys can see it.
I didn't include the wilderness in it because most people, like I said, don't really engage with that content. But
So it's kinda a bit. The map is kind of a bit based on our planet, then.
Well, yeah,
Roughly.
it's not
Very
Earth,
roughly.
right?
it's not based on Earth at all. I mean, it may have been originally with the Gower brothers, but over time, it definitely hasn't been.
Okay, but look at
that
the
way.
full map.
Oh, I know.
You can see the inspiration for the placement of the continents,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's no
obviously.
no way, shape, or form similar to our layout.
Well, the Kingdom of Kourend used to be a giant square at the edge of the map, and this was just a recent change to it.
Oh,
And
So-
then the Kingdom of Varlamore didn't even exist until earlier this year.
And you see, I believe this
So it's
area
constantly
is
being
right
updated.
here.
It is, yes. They're adding new content all the time. When Varlamore was added, they added a new
No, whoops.
endgame solo content. It's
It's right
wave-based
here.
content. And they
Tubbs,
also added, yes.
did I put the free-to-play area on the right spot?
Let me take a look here.
I had to move it a little bit because I cannot tell where the free-to-play area is, to be honest.
So the free-to-play area, where are you saying it's at? Because I don't.
The
all I can see is
middle of
big
the map.
It's basically, you see where it says Kingdom Asgarnia? It's like it's right middle side.
Okay, like right here.
I can't see your cursor on. Oh yeah, right around there.
There we go.
Yeah.
So the detailed area right there is the free-to-play area, and then everything else is the members. So when I say you get like about 10% of the map, that's not an exaggeration.
Right, and that's not to mention, the underground portions of the map. There's entire cities that you can't see here.
Okay, thank you, Ivy. Happy.
There's a lot of stuff that's just not.
The most interesting thing to me is that, so obviously you can't wear certain equipment. You can't fight certain bosses. Can you join a guild? You can be an Iron Man.
Yes,
One of the most interesting things is that it completely locks out one of the skills, though, to me, is agility.
It locks out several skills, actually. For example, as a free-to-play player, you don't have access to construction, hunter, slayer, fletching, thieving, herb lore, agility. Those are all member skills. Those are all skills that were added after the game transitioned from RuneScape Classic to RuneScape 2, which is what old school RuneScape is built off of, was RuneScape 2.
Okay, so it's kind of like the original is free, but then this is the expanded stuff is all members only.
Right. And there's actually going to be a new skill coming later this year called Sailing, which is going to be a free-to-play and member skill as well. So they're still adding stuff to free-to-play as well as members.
no,
just-
you
and-
said sailing. I'm interested.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work with that such a small free-to-play area, but it could be interesting.
Well, there's definitely a lot of water that we didn't really like go over because it's dead content right now. There's nothing to it. You know what I mean? Like, there's small islands just off the shores of Asgarnia that you can go to with it. And I'm sure there's going to be new small islands that they add, or they add content to existing small islands that are just on the map for sailing alone. But we do know, as of right now, that they plan on adding a lot of islands, a lot of aquatic travel for it, missions to like transfer goods, dredging up things from the bottom of the ocean, checking out scuttled ships. And there's talks about like pirate combat up in the wilderness area where you can actually, attack other people on their ships with your ship to ship combat.
Are you thinking like full-on cannon fights, or?
Yeah, like
I'm
Sea
not
of
sure how
Thieves.
they plan on doing that yet. They haven't gotten, any kind of like footage of that yet. They're still working on a lot of this stuff, but that's what it sounds like is possible, like cannon-based combat in possibly like boarding ships and stuff like that.
So, kind of going back to the scams a little bit, there's two things I want to talk about. Well, I want to first talk about a good thing, I think, which maybe you can shine some light on. Maybe it's not as good as I thought. When you play Tutorial Island, I think it's when you finish Tutorial Island, you can vote, basically, on which features you want to be added to the game. And this voting system, I remember vaguely you mentioning something about it, like, is rigged or something? But
So it's not really rigged. It just feels like it sometimes. There are polls in old school RuneScape. In order for any content to be added to the game, it goes to a polling system where it pushes all of that stuff to the players, and the players have to vote in a majority. I believe it's like 75% in favor of in order for things to be passed and added to the game.
And just to clarify, can you vote on as many things as you want?
Yeah, as long as the content pertains to your account. For
Gotcha.
example, like sometimes they'll put out polls. They'll be like, "This question is for people who are Iron Men only. Iron Men can vote on this, but nobody else can. This question's for Ultimate Iron Men only," which is another entirely different psychotic way of playing the game.
That's
Ultimate.
like one death
Can you
and you delete your
explain?
save, right?
No, that's hardcore Iron Man, where if you die and it deletes you from being a hardcore and makes you a standard Iron Man. Ultimate Iron Man is where you have a 28 slot inventory and nothing else. You can't bank any of your items either.
Jesus.
So everything you do has to be done within the 28 inventory slots you have on you at any point in time. There's people who have max level accounts that are Ultimate Iron Man. That's insane.
I immediately want to ask you the question, like, who came up with this? Was it the community doing these challenges and then were they officially added? Or was it like, okay, we need something to challenge the players?
Yeah, a lot of times it's a community-driven things where somebody in the community did it, and Jagex was like, "Hey, that's kind of cool, and let's make it an actual thing." And they'd implement it to the game so that anybody can do it within the game's limitations. And I mean, since then, they've also done all sorts of things. There's things called leagues that they put out every now and then, where like, "Hey, what if you have an account, but you're locked to only these 3 areas in the game?" And you get to pick which ones you want to go to, but you can't go to any of the other ones after you pick them. And these are all the items you got. What kind of cool things could you do with that? Or, what's another one? You're limited to so many skills. You can unlock more skills as you go, but you only have these skills to start out with, and you unlock relics that like enhance the skills in different ways. And those are like little temporary game modes that are around for like a couple months before they go away.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be interesting if they kept those game modes around more, though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to get tired of them after a couple of months, and they see that the player base just drops off on them. But they give a lot of rewards that carry over to the main game. Usually
they're
cosmetic
basically
rewards.
events.
Yeah, they're events essentially.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're events that are they take your character, right? And they load a new instance of your character as if it was freshly rerolled. So you play again as if you were a level 3, rather than as a
Level
max level
150.
account. Right.
What is the max level?
The max level is 126.
And
Okay.
for anyone watching the stream, the video, you can see some old school RuneScape gameplay here. This is just a 2024 video of just someone leveling their magic, apparently. I just tried to find a random video that wasn't Tutorial Island. It was very hard.
Tutorial Island, by the way, Tutorial Island really is actually an amazing thing in old school RuneScape as far as I'm concerned, because it really does just teach you the absolute basics of everything that is like essential to kind of starting a character. It teaches you how to engage in combat, but doesn't allow you to fail when you're starting out. Like if you get down to 1 health, the game won't let you die on Tutorial Island because it wants you to understand the game and learn it, but doesn't want to like punish you for not understanding immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It teaches you how to cast spells, how to do mining, smithing, how to smelt ore together to make bars,
It
how to fish, how to cook.
It does take about, I want to say, 30 minutes to complete if you read everything, maybe like 15 if you skip most of it. I skipped most of it, and I was very lost.
If you skip it, you can probably, if you know what you're doing and skip it, you can probably finish Tutorial Island in less than 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about for like a first-time player.
For a first-time player, I'd recommend
not skipping
reading.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you want to, especially if you actually really want to give this game a try, you definitely should pay attention to Tutorial Island, because like the thing is, it's not like, again, I'm going to keep saying Minecraft because it's like one of my favorite games, but it's not like Minecraft where it just drops you in a world and says, okay, have fun. It actually is a decent tutorial.
Yeah.
And apparently this person says killing chickens, so I'm going to see if they fast forward to something more interesting.
Well, they might move on to cows eventually.
Right? A lot of this game is grinding, and that is my biggest problem with why I don't want to get into this game, is because I've watched Tubbs, and Tubbs is an insane person, by the way, god-tier gamer, amazing at all the games that he's playing. He recently did, like, this challenge where he did, like, was it 60 games, the retro shuffler. He's fucking amazing at these games, but he has amazing patience apparently because his RuneScape account is an group Iron Man, like he said, and he fights bosses for just like 5 hours at a time, just trying to get a drop. It's like a 1 in 100 something chance.
That boss wasn't even that bad. That you're talking about when I was fighting the Phantom Musp on stream.
I
So
was
there's
talking
a
about
boss-
Muspa, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there
not
was-
the worst one.
No.
that's a common drop item.
A
There's
1 in
there's
100
items-
is simple for this fucking game, and that's insane.
Yeah, there's many items in the game that are 1 in 5,000, 1 in 10,000 drops.
I can't imagine sitting there fighting the same boss for 5 hours straight.
And that's like most bosses, I feel like. Because like he said, imagine trying to get a 1 in a 10,000 drop. You literally have to fight the boss 10,000 times, and you're not guaranteed to get it. You could just kill it once and get it, but, you know, each one takes about maybe 10 minutes to kill a boss.
It depends. Certain bosses are longer, some are shorter.
Yeah.
Muspa, for example, is about 2.5 to 3 minutes to kill.
That felt a lot longer in my head when I was watching.
But like, if I went to go do the Nightmare, for example, Nightmare solo is a 20-minute fight.
Oh, yeah. And do you know what his
Darn.
worst drop rate item is?
Nightmare's drops are fairly common, but the worst drop rate would probably be...
Probably his pet, I'd imagine, if he has one.
Yeah, most pets are the rare items these days. Nightmares... I think the Jar of Dreams from Nightmare is the rarest thing, though. Which is like
What does the Jar of Green do?
It puts a display in your house.
Yeah. Like,
I was gonna say, Mark, what do you think it does?
yeah,
I don't know. It's called the Jar of Dreams. Maybe it does something special.
yeah, I
come
mean,
on,
it sounds cool.
Come on now.
So the bosses in this game have jars that they drop on occasion, and the jars are literally just items that you can put in your house, that display the boss. They're nice.
Cosmetic items.
Yeah, basically. For example, in my house right now, I have the jar of smoke displaying the thermonuclear smoke devil, which
Okay. Hmm.
in the case of Jar of Dreams, it would display the Nightmare of Ashina, which she is awful to fight. Very long fight.
So, like our it's being said in chat by AB1,
Hobby, maybe, sorry.
Abby, it's a visual flex.
Yeah, essentially. Except for it's not even a flex in a lot of cases, because the jars, although when they were originally pulled were not meant to be tradable, are all tradable. So you can just buy them if you aren't an Iron Man and then put them in your house anyways.
So there's really no point in them existing.
Yeah, you know, you have to have killed the boss at least one time to display it, but that's about it. There is a new boss coming out here for 92 Slayer called Araxor. And the jar that Araxor drops is going to be untradeable. So that's going to be interesting at the very least.
Yeah, it'd be kind of too late to go back and make all the other jars untradeable since they've already been in circulation there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to go back to what I was saying earlier, I was talking about the voting and how I thought that was a pretty cool system.
Yeah.
I kind of joked that it was rigged, or I was under the assumption that it was rigged, and you said you were joking. So I'm like, okay. But I did want to touch on real-world trading, because this is something that is very interesting to me about not World of Warcraft, MMORPGs, I mean.
Yeah.
Is that people will buy items in the game for real-life money. And there are people in some, I don't want to say third world countries, it's a meme that some of my friends have, but in like Brazil and where did you say? Salvador?
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Was very, Yeah, Venezuela was very big about it for a while.
You can literally sell items in RuneScape if you do it right. You can make more money than a 9 to 5 job in those places.
Yeah,
It's
that was
mostly
Wow.
it's mostly because their economy is garbage.
yeah, the U.S. dollars, USD or the pound, wherever the currencies that they're getting paid in are stronger than their currency by such a large amount that even getting like $10-12 is enough for them to like pay for their groceries for that week or whatever.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I
So,
wanted to ask, and feel free to deny, it's okay. Have you ever participated in any real world trading, Tubbs?
never in RuneScape, no.
Okay. I just want to know, like, do you know how in RuneScape it... Because I know it's against TOS, as it is in every MMO, you're not allowed to real-world trade. But if someone were to do it, they would go to just, like, a Reddit or a Discord server, and they would just say, hey, selling blah 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 for blah blah blah, and then you would just DM them or whatever and set it up.
Possibly. I'm sure you can do it through a Discord server. Probably not on Reddit. The mod, like especially in the 07scape subreddit, the Jagex moderators are pretty active in a lot of the old school subreddits.
Yeah.
There are also just websites in general you can buy and sell gold and items on.
Mm-hmm.
The gold in this game isn't particularly strong value wise or anything.
I mean, it does have a real world equivalent, though, because you can pay money for membership, or you can pay in game gold for membership, which is bonds, I believe they're called.
Yes, that's correct. I think it's about 13 million gold for 14 days of membership through bonds.
Yeah, and how long does it take a new account, do you think, to get that much money?
It's not an easy task.
Yeah. So, money wise, obviously, you're not in the trading, obviously, as you said, but do you have an idea about how much that would cost IRL to just buy a 14-day bond?
If you were to spend money to buy the gold to buy a bond,
Yes.
probably like $8 to $10, I'd assume.
Okay. I'm just very curious because every
Now, for
MMO
comparison,
has
how much
this.
is that for a month for the membership?
$13 USD.
Yeah, it's probably better to not do it the illegal way, or not illegal. Maybe it is illegal. It's probably better to not risk your account getting banned, though.
Yeah.
Unless you're already doing it, then just, whatever.
And on top of being $13 USD for a month, it's even cheaper if you say buy a year. I think a year is like $80 USD.
Mm-hmm. So Tubbs here has been getting a lot of his viewers into RuneScape. Even Pip, who doesn't even play like video games ever, basically is into it, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, she was
But
actually playing this morning.
yeah, I saw that. What are you saying to these people to get them to play this game? Because everything we've talked about, there's been good things and bad things, but I still personally feel like there's more bad things than there are good.
Honestly, nothing.
Wow.
I don't.
So, what? There's no redeeming anything.
Oh no! I'm sorry. He asked what I say to get people to play it. There's nothing that I say. I don't do anything special to get people to play it. I suggest giving it a try, but what am I gonna say? The game is a very addicting experience. Honestly, if you start and you get your first couple of levels, you start enjoying some of the questing. The questing in this game as it's honestly hands down, in my opinion, the best questing experience in any MMORPG. Period.
And how many
Can
MMORPGs have you
you?
played?
How many MMORPGs have I played?
Yeah.
I played WoW from vanilla to Wrath, the end of Wrath. I've played gosh.
Because
hell is
I've
that?
played a few MMOs, but I didn't really think RuneScape did anything like that good, except maybe like the storylines.
Well, that's the thing. That's what makes the questing so good in this, is that the quests are all tied to the story. Every single quest you do, no matter how minuscule it may seem at the time, somehow eventually comes back to be tied together neatly later on to something much bigger.
So a decision you take at some guy's farm could come back and bite you in the ass later.
Yes, and it's not like you're making decisions that are going to like you're not. Most decisions you make result in different dialogue later on. The quests themselves, obviously they need you to be able to do all the quests still if you want to do all the quests. So they don't want to like, oh, you did this in a quest, it locks you out of this or anything like that. But
Oh,
for example,
I don't mean locking you out. I mean like biting you in the ass in the way that it will eventually come back and cause you trouble or like make things more complicated without necessarily blocking content.
yeah, perhaps. Like for example, I'm trying to remember. There is a quest where if you do something specific, uh, in one of the quests later on, the people won't help you as much with it, and you're kind of stuck on your own doing certain things. There's an inconsequential thing that's not even a quest. There's a person at a gate in the game who asks you to help them carry some boxes through the gate. And if you turn them down, you find out later that they're the gatekeeper and they charge you every time you go through that gate for the rest of the game.
Wow.
I was gonna say it's got to be something like that. Like the NPCs treat you just slightly differently, but still allow you to do the quests.
But it does
Yeah.
make it feel like, based on that description, I definitely could see how it makes the world feel like there's consequences and like your actions actually matter,
Yeah. I
which
mean,
is it's a big problem in a lot of MMOs as far as I'm aware.
but on top of that, you'll do a quest. There's a guy. One of the first quests you can do in the game is called Sheep Shearer, and the guy is freaking out. He's absolutely weirded out about the sheep because there's one sheep that he's just weird to him, and he doesn't know what's wrong with it. Um, and if you look, it's definitely not a sheep out there. There's a bunch of sheep, and there's a sheep that has like 4 legs that are attached to 2 different bodies, moving around out there. And later on, you do a quest where you end up like infiltrating an iceberg filled with the penguin mafia, basically. And they have these penguins all over the world stationed, and one of the spots is that sheep. There's 2 penguins in the side of a sheep costume walking around on this dude's farm,
Interesting.
spying on the humans, getting ready to take over the world.
So obviously that's very silly. What is the tone of this world?
Overall, I'd say the game itself is very much so kind of goofy. There are definitely serious consequences that happen in some quests, but a lot of it is a fairly lighthearted experience.
So is there going to be like a main character dying and like everyone's crying at their funeral? It's not going to be like that, or maybe like there is that, but it's
definitely
very sparse.
It's happened, and I'm expecting it to happen again soon, possibly even. There's a new quest coming out tomorrow, actually.
Oh shit.
And
Oh.
there's a very real possibility, if it's anything like the original version of the quest that went out on RuneScape 3, that we'll see some people die.
Okay, so I have 2 questions based off of what you just said. First of all, they're taking something from RuneScape 3 and putting it, like, converting it into old school RuneScape. Is that
Correct.
something they do often?
No.
Okay. And then my second question is, how often is this game updated? Because you just said this comes out tomorrow, and then
Every Wednesday's update day.
oh wow, are they like? I imagine there's some days are bigger than others, but is there like a major update like once a month kind of thing?
A major update once a month? No. Yes, it depends. They usually do like a roadmap of like any big updates that are coming.
Oh yeah, like every
They
live service
did-
game now.
They did a thing called the Summer Summit back in
Summer.
I'm trying to think when exactly it was. Maybe it was the Winter Summit. No, it was the Winter Summit. We haven't had the Summer Summit yet.
I was gonna
this
say,
was,
yeah.
This was
January 20th.
Yeah, this was the Winter Summit of 2024, and they announced on January 20th that a new boss was coming out 4 days later. Scurious the Rat King. The
I just
Defender
see
of
that.
Varrock quest came out, which expands the Majorats, which is a major overarching story that's been going on forever. You know, like Desert Treasure is one of like the big quests that came out in RuneScape 2 that's kind of defined the game overall. And Defender of Varrock is expanding upon like the story of the entities involved in that. The Wilderness had a small update with some new changes to things. Varlamore, the area expansion you see there, March 20th, that's when they added that whole chunk of the continent far to the west at the bottom there, the Kingdom of Varlamore.
I just threw up the roadmap on stream so everyone could see it.
Deadman mode. There's a new Deadman mode coming out here soon. Deadman mode is a PvP experience that happens usually once a year, where it's just everywhere in the entire game is dangerous. The entire world is dangerous, and
oh, just to clarify, this game has like worlds, and they're like basically servers. I think they fit up to like 60 people on each server, maybe more.
2,000 players.
2,000. Okay, Jesus.
You're far off.
And there's a lot of servers too. That's why I was surprised by that being such a high number. So Deadman is locked to specific like world/servers, I assume.
Deadman mode is locked to Deadman mode servers.
Okay, yeah.
There is a ongoing Deadman mode server where you can play at all times on Deadman mode, but it's not the same as the seasonal Deadman. Seasonal Deadman mode usually it will end with like a tournament with a real world, with an actual cash prize awarded to the people that do the best.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
It's really cool that Jagex like supports its players still after all these years, but I imagine they gotta be making bank off this game if there's that many active players.
Old School RuneScape I think does pretty well for itself as far as membership goes. It like we said already, in order to like really experience the game and enjoy it fully, you have to be a member. But with that in mind, RuneScape 3 has a lot of microtransactions in it, which I think protect Old School RuneScape from a lot of the bad that is present in modern gaming.
Like what? For example?
Microtransactions, for example.
Oh, it doesn't have that. That's perfect.
Yeah, there's no microtransactions in Old School RuneScape, but RS3 does have them. So, that's one big thing that is just not an element at all. There's no buy this for extra EXP, do this, do that. It's one experience for all the players. You know what I mean?
I was trying to find the number of logins for RuneScape. There it is, RuneScape the original, and versus the new one. So this website I just pulled off of mmopopulation.com. I have no idea if this is trustworthy or not, but I'm just going to read the data really quick. Old School RuneScape daily players is about 250,000, and RuneScape, I assume this 3, is about 50,000.
Yeah, RS3 had a mass exodus not that long ago.
Okay.
They made some changes. They made a proposition. One of the microtransaction things they proposed was literally like boosting the amount of damage you could deal against certain, like the newest content bosses for money.
Yeah.
And people weren't really keen to that, so they just fled en masse from RS3 to Old School. I mean, at the time, you're still talking about a difference of like 200,000, 225,000 players to like 75,000. But
I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here. I'll try to keep this brief. Does anyone here know the I think it's a YouTuber called Josh Hayes or Strife Hayes, something like that? He does a series called Worst MMO Ever. No one knows him?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I haven't watched all of his videos, but he basically, what he does is he looks at MMOs and he basically reviews them, specifically MMOs. And I don't know if he did a video on old school RuneScape or new RuneScape, but I remember this is the tangent part, I just remember him calling the Dungeons and Dragons MMO the most micro-traction heavy game ever. And I was wondering how it actually would compare to RuneScape. Like, is RuneScape 3 have a membership system?
It does have a membership system. It's actually the same membership that you use for your
Old school?
RuneScape.
That's good.
So if you have a membership on either one of them, you can play the members' content on both of them.
Yeah.
You're like paying, so you pay for multiple of the game through one service.
You basically
Correct.
play for all of RuneScape.
You're paying for RuneScape membership. And if you play RuneScape 3 and old school RuneScape, you can enjoy both. You can only be logged into one of them at a time on a single account.
Well, that makes sense.
We should probably talk about actually playing RuneScape a little bit.
Sure.
So, you can play RuneScape, correct me if I'm wrong, on iOS, Android, web browser, Steam, and Jagex client.
Correct. There's also one other official client, or unofficial client, that is greenlit by Jagex to use, which is called RuneLite. And RuneLite is a kind of open source client for the game. All the plugins that are available through it are also approved by Jagex.
It's basically like modding your game, but not cheating modding, just like visual modeling.
There's definitely some things that are a little bit...
Now that you say that out loud, I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute.
There's definitely some things in it that enhance your experience,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Like,
for example...
I was going to say, in the game, I know that there's puzzles, and I believe one that even you have is like Puzzle Solver or whatever, where it just solves shit for you.
Correct. There's that's actually a built-in one, and even the Jagex official mobile version of the game will, in some cases, offer puzzle solutions.
Wow.
But well, I mean, it's sliding tile puzzles, and one of them is a light box puzzle where there's 8 buttons and it changes. The light box puzzle is heinous, in my opinion. There's 8 buttons, right?
Is
when
it
you push a button on it?
Is it the same one as the Resident Evil remakes?
No.
Oh, okay.
There are 5 rows and 5 columns of 5 light bulbs, right? So there's 25 light bulbs, and when you push one of the 8 buttons on it, it'll turn off and on a various set of light bulbs. And you have to remember which light bulbs are changed by which of the buttons to turn on all of the lights.
Oh god, it's one of those, but it like... Normally those would only affect the ones like adjacent to it, but this one is just random.
It's, 8 buttons, and it just turns on and off different lights.
That's horrible.
And solving it is miserable. That is a clue step. That's actually one of the big, they call it like distractions and diversions. It's content that you can get while you're doing other content. For example, like certain monsters, when you kill them, have a chance of dropping clue scrolls. And they just are meant to get you away from what you're doing to do that, to get a reward.
Right, and I remember you were collecting, like, caskets or whatever, and you opened, like, 100 of them on stream, which you were just collecting while doing other stuff.
1,000-ish.
Yeah, 1,000, sorry. Also, sorry about the ad break, anyone who could still hear us. We run ads because I need to eat.
Yeah.
You can watch this on YouTube later, you won't even understand there's an ad running, you're fine.
But yeah, clue scrolls, caskets, those are... Yeah, RuneLite. Exactly.
Yeah, I just put it in chat in case people want to Google it. I'm not going to go super into detail or show it or anything. But I used RuneLite, and the first thing you should get is the graphic overhaul mod. It basically is like playing Minecraft with shaders on.
Yeah, 117 HD is very nice. It makes the game look nicer. There's animation smoothing, which makes it to where your animations don't look all janky and jittery anymore, because there is definitely some jittery animations in the game.
Mm-hmm.
One of my personal favorite plugins is Door Kicker. It just literally opens doors by kicking them open instead of the standard walking up to them and they just open.
Yeah, if you guys do play RuneScape after this episode, I highly recommend downloading RuneLite and playing it that way with a couple of plugins. Like I said, you can also play it on your phone, though. Can you get RuneLite on your phone?
You cannot, but like I said, the mobile client for the game has a lot of quality of life built into it that isn't in the game on the PC client version of the game.
Yeah, that is something I really wish I did before this episode, is I wish I tried it on the phone to see how different it was. Because I can imagine it controls, like... I mean, the entire game is clicking, so it's just tapping. But I just can't imagine that interface being good on mobile. It has to be completely different.
It is very different, and the version of it right now is going to be changing here in the near future. They've got a prototype out for more easily accessible, quick switching of things with the way it rests naturally in your hand. The way it is now, some of the buttons are just not well arranged.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big complaint from like the higher end player base for a while now. And they're making a lot of changes that are going to make the game more accessible on mobile even. But there are people that do the highest level of content purely on mobile. So
That is wild. There are people who play, like, the new Resident Evil games on mobile, and I just was like, what? How the fuck do you do that? I mean, I get if you, like, plug in a controller, but you can't do that with a game like RuneScape. So, that's really interesting. Just to quickly check in with everyone on the podcast, does anyone have to leave soon, or can we go a little bit longer today? Because I'm actually having a lot of fun talking about this.
I'm not
We-
working tomorrow, so
I mean, we can go a bit longer.
Are you okay with that, Tubbs?
I can go as long as you need me.
Awesome. Yeah. I remember one thing that I talked about in Tubbs' server a while back that stuck with me was that the first person to get a Neuralink, they can't use their arms or legs, so they have to basically play with either their eyes or their mouth or whatever, but they got a Neuralink, so they can just think, basically. And they said they spent almost their entire time playing RuneScape in their head. And they were, like, PvP outdoing everyone else because they're doing so many actions per minute compared to everyone else. And I just found that hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I could just think about what I wanted to do and the game did it, it would probably be. I'd
Yeah.
probably do a lot better at PvP as well.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen you PvP on stream.
That's because my hands panic when my brain tells them to do a thing, and then they don't do the thing that I want, and then I die.
Fair enough.
And since I have to, go out and grind to get anything I lose back, I
Yeah.
don't want to.
That's actually a good question.
On top of that,
Why did you choose Iron Man?
I chose Iron Man because I was playing a normal account at one point in time, and I was just really, really tired of it. I got to a point where I felt like I wasn't doing the content to get anything in particular, right? Like I was killing a boss that I knew was good for making money, so I could use that money to buy gear. Instead of getting gear to do more content to get more gear.
Yeah, you
just
were
felt
you were doing the best gold you could get instead of just going and grinding the item itself.
Right. So I felt like I was just kind of ignoring content to get items.
Yeah.
And then eventually I would do better gold item or content, but half the content in the game you skip because it's just not worth it gold wise to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's actually something I did want to talk about also. What is, like, the boss? Because, okay, so when I played World of Warcraft, I played up until, I want to say, level 40 or 60. And I think you unlock raids at, like, level 20. Or dungeons, I mean, not raids, sorry. Raids are endgame. What is, like, the content... So, for me, specifically, I only cared about the dungeons in MMO, like World of Warcraft. What is, like, the equivalent, and what level does it unlock? Or, like, what is, like, the milestone that I need to do before I can do it?
So there are 3 quote-unquote raids in this game. Those are going to be the closest thing you have to dungeons, like World of Warcraft style.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be Chambers of Zarek, Tombs of Amasket, and Theater of Blood.
Okay.
So the Theater of Blood is hands down the hardest base experience, and then they have an expert mode Theater of Blood as well, which is, you're doing it when you have most of the best gear in the game to get more of the best gear in the game to sell for money, basically.
Right, and just to clarify, is this like you can do it with people, but you can also do it solo, or is it you can only do it with people?
Theater of Blood is soloable. Expert Theater of Blood, most people run in groups of 4 because it's just
Right, but it's not a hard
Not that hard.
requirement.
There's very few people that can do it without a group.
10 years from now, when they add
So
more gear that's
Take
better.
someone with extreme talent then.
Either somebody with extreme talent or a group.
Yeah, okay.
It's simply because mechanically it's not that it's not feasible, but there's some things, like up until recently they actually changed something recently. There's a boss, the first boss in Theater of Blood, that deals damage to you, and as it deals damage to you, it heals. But after you do 33% of its health and damage, it summons these little blood spiders that'll just walk up to it, and if they reach it, it heals the boss again. And for every bit of health they heal, their attacks become more lethal, they're more accurate.
So you're on a timer, and you also have to deal with AoE stuff.
Right, they throw stuff on the ground. If you step in it, it heals them. They get stronger. It's a lot, and they do that thing where they summon the blood spiders 3 times in the fight, so it might actually be more than 33%. It might be more like 30%ish.
Right, and just to ask really quick, combat wise, I know that there's melee combat, there's ranged combat, and magic combat.
Correct.
But I don't actually know anything beside the basics. Is there like AoE damage?
There is AoE damage. So there are 4 different spellbooks of magic in this game. That being the standard spellbook, which is the one you start with when you start the game. It's got a lot of single target magic in it, a lot of good useful utility teleports, some of the most useful utility spells in the game, like the alchemy spells. Amazing stuff for PvP, like Teleblock, which stops your opponent from being able to teleport out of the wilderness.
So in other words, it's your basic grab all spellbook.
Right. It's your basic does what you need it to kind of spellbook. Then they have Ancient Magics, which was unlocked through Desert Treasure. Like I said, Desert Treasure was a big kind of revolutionary thing for the game during RuneScape 2. It unlocked what's called Ancient Magics. Ancient Magics have like various different effects on them. One of the spells will poison your opponent when it hits them. Another one will steal life from them and give you about 25% of that health back. And then, most importantly, they have freeze spells, which freeze your opponents in place, as well as dealing massive damage. They have single target variants and multi-target variants that hit a 3x3 area centered on whatever you cast it on directly. So that's where a lot of your AoE damage comes from. There's also an animal in the game called a Chinchampa.
A Chinchampa.
Yes, a Chinchampa.
Well,
They are
okay.
little guys you catch in box traps, and they explode when you throw them.
Okay.
Okay, that's sad.
Okay. I need you to imagine what I have in my head right now for an image. I imagine a hybrid between a chinchilla and Champa from Dragon Ball Z. This is what I have in my mind right now, and it's fucking weird.
When he said explode, I was imagining like a chinchilla mixed with a hedgehog, and then you throw it and explodes into like spines.
So this is a Chinchampa. I'm just gonna send you whatever they have for the picture.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Alright, I'll throw it up on screen in a second.
That was so much worse than what I was expecting.
Fuck, it's like a badly made snowball.
And you grab them by the legs and you throw them at things. And like I said, they explode, and they do a 3x3 area of effect damage as well. And they're classified as range damage.
I'm gonna put this little guy on top of Tubbs' head.
Looks like I could use it as a hat during winter.
Exactly. I put it on top of Mega Man's hat.
They're very popular for various forms of content in the game. They're the best range training in the game.
It
Are-
looks like someone tried to make a sheep out of snow and failed.
It looks kind of like a squirrel.
Where
Yeah.
the fuck do you see a squirrel in that?
Well,
Actually, I can kind of see the squirrel too.
minus the roundness, it looks like a squirrel. Like the colors and then the bushy tail.
That's a black
Yeah.
Chinchompa.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
see? That looks like a mouse thing, but yeah.
I actually saw a rabbit first.
Okay. Either way, I forgot what I was gonna say now because of that. Oh, are
But
they
yes, there
kind
are
of
area of effects?
are they kind of like chocobos, like the mascots of the game, sort of?
No.
Okay.
No. There really isn't a mascot for the game anymore that I can think of.
Hmm.
There used to be like some kind of like a sort of mascots for the game that you'd see like all over the website, but they're long retired really. Let me see if I can find it. I believe his name was Crunchy, the skeleton, and the warrior's name was Tim, I think.
Abby said gnome child?
Oh, the gnome child! Yes! Oh man. Gnome
Actually,
child.
I just remembered if this game has a mascot, it's probably just the main character because I don't know if you guys know the game Smite. It's MOBA, but they did a crossover with RuneScape where they added a couple of skins, and one of them is just like a generic wizard.
That is actually the wise old man.
Okay.
He could be a mascot as well. But this is Tim and Crunchy.
Oh, that is not what I was expecting for art.
Yeah, it's old art.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
I
it
was
looks
expecting
good.
RuneScape graphics. That's not RuneScape.
Nope. And then there's the wise old man, which yeah, the wise old man is definitely a possibility for a mascot. He is a wise old man.
Mm-hmm.
With a
Generally
nice
looks it.
paper hat.
Yep. He's got the blue party hat, which he stole from the bank.
I'm just gonna share my screen really quick because it's easier to
Okay,
just show it.
question that I don't know if there's an answer to. Why is the
Sure.
bank keeping the party hats?
Yes.
Got it.
Uh,
Thank you.
Once upon a
Once
time,
an
party
adventurer
hats
like
were
you.
incredibly expensive.
I threw up the Smite image so you guys can see those characters actually.
Yeah, and you can see there on the left, that is the wise old man wearing the
And
party
then
hat with
in
his
the back,
spectacles and everything.
and then in the background is the gnome child.
Yep, which I just posted also in Discord.
Mm-hmm. I think
Uh,
everyone has seen gnome child.
The
Actually, this is
three-headed
my
black
first time
dragon
seeing
there.
it.
The three-headed black dragon there is the King Black Dragon. He is a boss out in the wilderness. He resides in a cave that's not part of the wilderness, but his dungeon, you have to go through the wilderness to reach it.
Mm-hmm. Is he like
Okay.
he used to be end game content, but now he's like mid game content? I assume.
He used to be endgame content, and now he is one of the easiest bosses in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I figured.
Damn, okay.
It's literally just you stand there and hit him and mitigate damage by healing and wearing a shield. There's definitely bosses with much more interesting and engaging mechanics than King Black Dragon.
You never know. Maybe there's a
Um,
hidden gem somewhere that's even more boring.
But yes, the wise old man is an interesting character. He is definitely, like Abby says, implied to be an adventurer like your character, but a seasoned adventurer. There's actually a quest that you do at one point in the game called Swan Song, which is supposed to be the wise old man's final quest.
It's interesting because I remember a long time ago you talked about how there's quests about like slaying dragons and all this stuff.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what the topic was about at the time. I want to say it was about like how your main character does everything and is still kind of treated like he doesn't do everything.
Yeah, so the main character is just a guy. At the end of the day, you are an adventurer. You're not some, like, immortal being. You're not special.
You're not a
just
god or a half god or anything like that.
Right. You're not anybody special. You're not, some kind of like chosen one or anything like that. You're a guy who's like, I'm going to be an adventurer. Literally the first quest you do in the game is you get an egg, a bucket of flour, and a pot of milk, and you make a cake.
Well, unless you're me, then your first quest is to dig up a clue.
I mean, you could do X marks the spot first. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But most people tend to go in and get cook's assistant as their first quest, and then
it was my second
literally
quest.
All it is.
Yeah.
Shearing sheep and making balls of wool. That's another early game quest. But by the late game, you're renowned. You're still an adventurer, but you're not. You're renowned as an adventurer, and you have all this knowledge that you picked up throughout your quests. You know about all these different things, and you are fighting like servants of gods and stuff like that.
But at the end of the day, you're just a dude.
You are just a dude, yes. RuneScape 3, from my understanding, did not stick with that. I didn't play RuneScape 3 to, find out personally, but from what I've gathered from people who have played it, you kind of become a god of it.
Yeah. My kind of question was, I guess, more like, I know you're a fan of Elder Scrolls, right, Tubbs?
Sure.
I was thinking, like, how you're the hero of Cravach, and everyone is like, oh my god, it's the hero of Cravach, or whatever, in Oblivion. And then in Skyrim, you're the Dragonborn, everyone's like, who cares, it's the Dragonborn. Is it more like Hero of Cravach, or is it more like Dragonborn? Like, it's people's attitude toward you.
It's more like, I would say, not Elder Scrolls.
Fair enough.
How do I put it?
Well, would it be more like a Dark Souls where you're literally just a guy with a sword?
Kinda, yeah. I'd say, but even in Dark Souls, you are the chosen undead or whatever, This game, you are just a dude who got off a boat and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do a thing.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that part of it. I mean specifically, like, people's attitude towards you. Are they like, oh, hey, you're the guy who killed the dragon, oh my god, you're awesome? Or are they like, yeah, so what?
No.
Who's this fucking guy?
Some people will, like I said, you gain renown in certain areas by doing quests for certain people, and those people will care about what you had to say and do. But most people are just like, hey, look, it's that guy.
Yeah, okay.
They're not like, oh, look, it's the guy who, killed the dragon that was summoned by, an ancient ritual to fucking wipe the world clean of humans for dragon kind of reign or anything like that.
Yeah,
they don't know that you did it.
Yeah. You're a hero or you're an adventurer for fun.
Exactly.
Man, it's been a while.
One day and decided I'm bored. I want to go.
I'm bored.
Do things for other people.
My life.
I'm bored. Let's go save the world.
And you see, your character's not even like that. Your character isn't about that. Like, if you talk to people, your character is usually more pissed off about the shit that you're doing than other people are.
Really?
Your character's just like, yeah, okay, cool, great. One time, early on in the questing, you'll notice that, like, a lot of the early game quests, you can, like, bribe guards with beer and stuff like that. And your character eventually notices it too, and starts to be like, all right, I guess I need to get a beer for this guy or something so he'll fucking talk to me.
So your character notices problems and starts complaining about it.
Your character will definitely complain about things and make jokes at your own character's expense. Sometimes, if you, for example, one of the early game quests, you have to collect beads from imps, right? It's called, I think it's called Imp Catcher. You go talk to a wizard. The wizard's like, hey, these imps stole my beads. They're these 4 different colors, yellow, red, white, and black. Bring them to me. I'll reward you. Cool. You go off and you do that. But let's say, for example, you didn't go off and do that afterwards. You haven't even talked to him yet, and you show up with all of the beads in your inventory. Well, the guy will be like, Uh, he'll tell you, "Hey, I need these beads. They were stolen by imps." And you have all of them in your inventory. You're like, "Well, hey, this is surprising." And he's like, "What?" You're like, "I actually have all of those beads on me right now." And he's like, "Are you saying you stole the beads from me and I've been blaming these imps?" And you're like, "Nope, I guess I just got them and I assumed that somebody would need them at some point."
That's funny.
And that completes the quest right then and there. You're done. You have all the stuff already.
To sort of just pull away from that for a moment, death, right?
Death, yes.
I put them up on screen because this is where I literally quit the game when I died.
Okay.
Not because of any specific reason, I was just kind of like, alright, I'm done with this, but do you see death every time you die?
No.
Okay, just like the first time?
Correct. It's just to tutorialize you on what death means, and
Yeah.
you can always go and visit death again whenever you want.
And I'll blow up the picture so people can see, but he's very, like, I forget what, I think he does the trope where he's like, hey, there's a lot of dead people, you'll just do me a favor if you just leave. I think, like, that's kind of his deal, if I remember correctly. But he gives you, like, a fucking monologue about how death works, and it's like, dude, I don't care, I just want to get my stuff and fight more.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Death's office is meant to be a place where you can go if you die to retrieve your goods without going back to where your goods are for a cost.
Yeah.
So if you die in the overworld, fighting enemies, or even in some cases in various boss instances, you can retrieve your items either through the item retrieval service at that boss, or by going to just where your gravestone is, where you died, and retrieving your items. And
Right.
it costs you money to get your stuff back because
Wait,
there's
really?
a penalty. Yes, there is a penalty of sorts. When you have low value items, there's nothing. But when you start to have really high value items, they start to add a cost to it.
Right.
And it's not a significant cost or anything, but it's there.
So,
now,
like,
if you
sorry.
go ahead.
Where I died, I was just fighting, like, some low-level mobs, and I just had, like, a shovel on me, a bunch of gold, not a bunch of gold, but, a bunch for, like, level 1 or whatever. Yeah, it's not really level 1, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I could just go pick up my stuff, I don't need to pay, like, a tax or anything.
Correct.
Okay.
For a low-level character, there's no tax.
See,
But for
Death
me,
made it sound like there was a tax.
There's a tax if you get your items back from death.
Right.
And if you leave your items on the ground for too long while you're logged in, they go to death by default.
Okay. And
But it's 15 minutes. You have plenty of time to get back to where you died.
yeah, what if you can't pay death back? Do you just have to go, like, fight stuff with your bare hands if you don't have, like, a backup inventory?
Yeah, but, I mean... Or you could go buy low-level gear. Most low-level gear is pretty cheap.
Gotcha. Alright, we are about an hour and 20 minutes into the podcast. We should probably wrap it up soon unless there's anything else you really want to talk about.
Gosh. I mean, there is so much to talk about in this game, but...
Yeah, like, how many bosses are there?
Oh, gosh.
A lot?
There's quite a few. Let's see. Sire, Hydra, Barrows, Bryophyta, Callisto. I'd say in the neighborhood of 40-ish bosses.
Okay.
Maybe more.
And would you say there's like a story to this game, or is it just you just go out and do things?
There's like I said, a lot of the quests tell a story, and a lot of the quests, when you do things in them, they'll lead to other quests later on, which will tell a story. There's story threads that have been left hanging for years, and there's story threads that have been tied up neatly in a bow. It all depends on what you're doing quest wise. But as far as like a main story, no, there's no main story.
I just want to throw out there, I'm looking at the bosses on an OldSchool RuneScape wiki. These look a lot like Pokemon. Some of them are just like regular guys or like animals, and then other ones are like fucking the Calphite Queen, which just looks like a Pokemon.
The Calphite Queen. That's a giant bug.
Yeah, it's like green, it has 6 legs, and it has a stinger, sort of like squirrel's tail, and has 2 giant antennae and like pincer mouth. But again, it looks like a bug-type Pokemon.
Then when you kill it, it bursts out of its back and it starts flying and attacks you from the air, too.
Well, Corporeal
Hell no.
Beast...
Nope. Nope.
Corporeal Beast literally looks like type Null.
Yeah, if type Null existed 10 years earlier.
Yeah. And then I love how I scroll down a little bit and the wilderness boss is just crazy archaeologist, and it's just a guy with a book.
Yep.
It's fucking great.
So, from what I'm gathering, the simplicity is what makes these characters great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of the greatness in the game is rooted in the simplicity. And then a lot of what makes it also great is rooted in the complexity of the late game. Like, I mean, I could give you guys visual examples of some of the content later on. There's literally a thing called the Corrupted Gauntlet, which is a timed dungeon. You have like 7.5 minutes to, from scratch, go and gather stuff to make gear inside of the dungeon, and then fight a boss. If you run out of time, it teleports you to the boss, ready or not.
That's cool.
And then if you manage to kill the boss, you get a cache of loot at the end of it, which could include one of the best weapons in the game.
Also, hi, Term.
Hello.
Hello, Term.
I see a couple of people from Tubsy's chat. Awesome, thank you guys for showing up. So, is there anything else that is like we need to talk about when we're talking about old school RuneScape?
I'd say the biggest, most important thing to remember is that RuneScape itself, as you know, old school RuneScape, for example, isn't a game that you have to be super actively attentive to. A lot of people consider old school RuneScape to be what they call a second monitor game, especially for the early level content. When you're just grinding something in this game, you can grind it and just kind of zone out. I can't tell you how many like entire series I've watched just grinding things mindlessly in this game. It's a great way to enjoy your time doing nothing or anything. But then, you know, when you go to do some of the later content, of course, you have to be more hands-on attentive.
Basically, there's a lot of mindless grinding if you want to make it mindless.
Right. You can do whatever you want in the game, and there's always new things being done. Like Abby's saying, there's a ton of great OSRS content on YouTube and second monitor content for the game. You know, just of the game for the game. I can tell you one of my personal favorite series that I watched of it is what's called Swampletics. Swampletics is a series done by a creator named Settled, who locked his character to one region of the game as an Ultimate Iron Man. So, like I said, the Ultimate Iron Man is the type of gameplay where you can't use a bank. You have 28 inventory slots. That's it. And he managed to take literally like 4 years, 3 to 4 years of his actual gameplay time and cut it down to like a
12-hour video.
12-hour video.
I just see it says spent over 1,500 hours editing the series over the last 3 years, he said. Yeah. And it's a 12-hour video.
Fantastic series. Absolutely loved it.
Here, I'll go ahead and link it in chat in case anyone wants to see it. If I remember, I'll put it in the description of the YouTube video.
And these content creators are getting crazier and crazier all the time. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do in the game. There's all sorts of ways you can play the game, enjoy it your own way. A lot of people, if you do ever decide to try and play it, they'll try and tell you to play the game in a very specific way. This is the best way to level up. This is the best way to do this. This is the fastest way to do this. Don't worry about the fastest, the best way to get through the game. play the game the way that you enjoy it.
Yeah, well, unless you're replaying it and trying to speedrun it, play a game to enjoy it.
They're actually funny that you say that. There is a speedrun to max level series on YouTube as well, where
I'm not
somebody
surprised.
in less than, I want to say in less than 14 days played time hit 99 in every skill.
I'll go ahead and show this on my screen really quick. There's also a speedrun.com page for OldSchool RuneScape. And it looks like there's a ton of stuff.
Some of the categories are hilarious. One of my favorite is, I think it's called, it's either Drill Demon or Camo or something like that. And it's literally just starting an account, getting off Tutorial Island, and then getting the random event for the Drill Demon. That's the entire speedrun.
Yo, Tubbs, if you do
Really?
Theater of Blood by yourself, you can get a world record on speedrun.com.
Yeah, you could. It's definitely not going to be an actual world record because they have they actually track that in game.
Oh shit, okay. So this is pretty redundant on some of these. That's great.
Yeah, a lot of it actually. There's even funny that you mentioned speedrunning. There are speedrun worlds in the game where there's certain quests that they have for you to speedrun.
That's really funny.
It gives you a set gear loadout and everything for it. And the world records are insane on some of them. It's like there's literally quests that people have completed in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
How?
And just optimal pathing. They know that everything in this game functions on its 0.6 second tick second or tick cycle second 0.6 second tick cycle.
You got
so
there.
They know that everything that you do works on those 0.6 seconds. You know, 2 steps when you're running is 0.6 seconds. If you step once and then open this gate, it opens it in 0.6 seconds. But only if you do it in a certain way. And if you step and then come to a complete stop and then dig with your spade, it's technically faster than trying to dig with your spade while you're running. There's all these little bits and pieces here and there that people know and they use to get, you know, those advantages. The game is very basic, very simple, and overwhelmingly complex.
Yeah.
So you're meant to min-max your character in this game?
No. But you can. And that's what I'm saying. The game is there for anybody to play the game any way they want to and enjoy it that way. But there's all sorts of things you can do to manipulate the game ticks to get an advantage. But you don't have to. And I wouldn't recommend it. Personally, I think that it'll burn most people out on the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this game doesn't really have like an end goal that's feasible in other MMOs where you collect one of every item. I mean, you can do that, but it'll take you fucking years.
Yeah, there is a collection log in this game, and for every boss drop, every drop from like the clue scrolls like I mentioned earlier, all the rewards from the different mini games in it, all the rewards from various different random enemies drops that are like rare drops are all recorded in this. There's 1,521 rare drop items in the game that are available through the collection. That are available to record in the collection log, and some of those have drop rates in the area of 1 in 200,000 from a clue scroll, which requires you to do like a half an hour worth of running around to even have a shot at this item. Some of the items in the game, so the game, sorry, it has a max stack value of 2.147 billion of any item. That includes coins, right? There are items in this game that are valued at 14 to 20 billion gold. Anywhere from 7 to 10 times the maximum value that you can carry on a single character.
Wow.
So
But you can't sell it.
you can. There's an item called a platinum token, which is worth 1,000 gold each. Like just raw, you trade it to the bank for 1,000 gold.
Hmm. And that immediately makes me wonder how much gold can you possibly have in your inventory at one time, including the platinum token and everything.
2.15 trillion, roughly.
Jesus Christ.
Holy shit!
Imagine-
Wait. And there's a fucking
Oh, I'm
paper
sorry.
hat that costs the max stack of cash.
The paper hat doesn't cost a max stack of cash in old school RuneScape. That's in RS3. In RS3, they removed the integer value limit on gold, so it can go a lot higher.
Okay.
Those paper hats are worth, I want to say hundreds of millions of gold, maybe billions. I don't know anymore, to be honest.
Why?
Because they were a limited time event drop from RuneScape's from a Christmas event in like 2004, and they never re-released them.
I wonder if they realize that there's like a black market for those, and that they're gonna release it again at some point, like they do with the Mercy breast cancer skin.
They absolutely know there's a black market for them, and they don't plan on re-releasing them.
Wow.
In RuneScape 3. They release them every year for RuneScape, for old school RuneScape though, because it's hilarious. And they literally, so like the Jagex moderators involved in old school RuneScape are very active in the game. They literally go to like these events when there's like when they're having a Christmas event, they'll log on to their Jagex account and they'll just sit there and spawn shit all over the place, including bosses sometimes, just to fuck around with the players. Like they'll spawn hundreds of different colored party hats and other, formerly rare items all over the place for you to just pick up if you want. But you also have to like contend with the bosses that they summoned in the area killing you too if you want to get them.
So they do this purely for their own entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's all about fun. Can they drop a bond? I'm sure they could. I don't know if they would, but I'm sure they could.
Just for you, Term. So, Monkey, Karma, how likely are you guys to try this game?
I mean, I've known about RuneScape for a while. I've just never really touched it, but I've been wanting to maybe try it at some point.
Has this at least piqued your interest more than before?
I mean, it's still on my list of games to play, and it definitely seems interesting. I just don't have.
Yeah, you don't have free
it's hard
time.
Well, I do, but listen, a crackhead probably makes more sense than my work schedule.
Like I said, it's a great second monitor game. You watch the newest episode of your anime where you sit there and you kill a goblin, you don't even pay attention to the game while you're getting XP. It's a fine game to play on another screen while you're enjoying something else on your computer.
I need another screen then.
Yeah, he has a laptop and like a shitty one too.
It's not that shitty. Come on.
It is pretty
Monkey, you
shitty.
can't even play Elden Ring with us. You can't talk.
Yeah.
Karma, you can't run VR chat on your computer.
Actually, I can.
Yeah, you can.
Since when?
Since he bought a new
Since I have
computer.
Wait, no,
Since I have a new
no,
computer.
Karma, you don't get to call my computer shit when you've been on a Chromebook or for
Actually,
like
I'm
2
on a
years.
Dell laptop right now, and I have
Yeah,
been for the last 5 months.
Before that you were on a Chromebook for 2 years.
Okay, so now I get to call your computer shit.
You don't get to call my computer shit when you you streamed with us on a Chromebook for 2 years.
Okay, but now I can, because now I actually have a great laptop.
Anyway, hey Tubbs, do you have a rate target in mind?
Nope, not tonight, I don't think, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
That's okay, we'll raid Debo then, if that's alright.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, /raid Debo. Thank you all for joining us for the NightThemedRave. We will be back next week, no matter what the fuck we're doing. Probably Terraria if all of us are here, Elden Ring if not.
It's gonna be Elden Ring.
Okay. Well, we'll see you all next week for Elden Ring then.
As I said, my work schedule is a mess.
So, join our socials if you want to check out our YouTube channel where we post all of our actual podcast episodes. Our Twitter is dead since the API change, but you can still follow it anyway if you feel like. Discord, please be 18 years or older if you want to join, because it is also a porn server, because we're fucking degenerates.
Because that server was a porn server before becoming a Twitch server. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Well, of course it was. That's what we made it for, Monkey.
yeah.
I know.
Please use the MTR raid if you have the emotes. Please use our raid and love emotes. Give us your money. And follow Tubbs. Tubbs is Twitch TV/Tubbzilla. He's in the title, and he will be in the description on YouTube. Anything else you guys want to say before we leave?
Pineapple.
I fucking hate you.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.